should we get into this? This is going to be, of course, USCCA. This is concealed carry insurance, insurance type stuff. So now my story about USCCA is that I wasn't offered anything by them. However, there was a sponsorship offer with Right to Bear, which is another insurance type company in the same vein as USCCA. The problem that I had with Right to Bear, which is again kind of a similar structure, not necessarily identical, but kind of a similar idea, let's say. So with them, I told them that I have no understanding of insurance or the laws or applications of that type of product. So I told them that I wasn't really interested in doing it because, again, I just have no idea of how this stuff works. So I've never had one of these sponsorships or anything else like that. And the one that I was offered, I turned down just because it's really not my thing. Now, Gary, do you have any initial thoughts on USCCA before we get into some of the downsides, let's say?
I mean, I've got. There's been like hours and hours and hours of content made
Mhm.
about USCCA and how they did Kayla Giles.
Yep.
And oh shoot, what's the other guy's name?
Let
Uh,
me pull. I have that here. I
uh
have that here. It is Kayla Giles. Or was
I
there
should
was
have
there
this
another
pulled
name
up.
that I dropped it? I
Yeah,
don't I don't
it's Kayla Giles and Alan Coley, the guy from the guy who shot the YouTube prankster.
Mhm.
Um, they did USCCA did both of those guys very dirty, and there's hours of content about it, and it hopefully it's going to drive a significant change in concealed carry insurance, but I doubt it, and we're just going to see some other things that work better.
Wow, this is. I'm just going to read some of these comments real fast because this is the most vitriolic hate that we've had for a product yet. USCCA is a scam. Heard USCCA was a straight scam. Scam and liars. Scam. Shady AF. Gun insurance that will drop you if you actually need them. Yes, and this is something that they have done because not only will they drop you, but then they will recharge you for the money because insurance is not allowed to protect somebody if they're found guilty. So if you happen to be found guilty by, crooked judge, bad 12 jurors,
Or you take a plea
terrible,
deal because
or you
you
take a
have to.
plea deal, gosh, whew, they will not only, they can't legally do it because they're insurance, they're not a law firm, they're insurance. So they cannot pay all of your bills or whatnot if you're actually found guilty. They will charge you for all of that. So yeah, scam, shady AF. Right to Bear has very limited benefits from what I've read. Which again, when I was looking into it, I was like, I have no idea what any of this stuff is, and this is not something that I want to be shilling for. We'll get into some alternatives, but yeah, again, scam. Doesn't Tim Kennedy do ads for USCCA? Probably. A lot of people had. A lot of people had. Let's see.
Yeah,
USCCA cheating is
they were
garbage. It's Right to
they
Bear
were
owned
pushed.
ran by PSA.
USCCA was pushed big by Leviathan for
Yep.
all the way up until Giles and Coley, and then after the Coley thing, after the whole Alan Coley thing, and we found out that USCCA dropped Alan Coley,
Mhm.
people started backing away from it, and there's still a couple people that still push USCCA. Uh,
They're a big one.
Langley, I think, does.
They were big for a while.
Langley, I think, does now, and Tom Greaves does. Those are the two off the top of my head that do still. Um, man,
Now, Deskpop
I
says
wonder
best.
how big those checks are. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I know. So for Right to Bear, the offer was a flat rate for the turnover. So if you got somebody signed up for it via your rate, via your account, your link, whatever it happens to be, the offer was a flat rate plus an X percentage. So it'd be like $40 plus or something like that. So if you had like 100 members under you or something like that, not only do you get the initial bump, but also the monthly recurring. So it has the opportunity to be an insane amount of money. If you have like 100 people sign up under you or something like that for, however much per month, it can be basically a second source of passive income because it is again another subscription type service. Despop says the best legal defense if you're involved in a shooting is simply leave and don't report it in Minecraft. Their insurance is trash. Clayco says they need to be in the scam tier for sure. US Law
I
Shield,
agree.
that's another one I've heard. And GB Guns, he might have a more interesting perspective because I've never worked with them. He said there are a lot of hit pieces out against USCCA, but some of them admit some facts. So again, I have not actually worked with one. So again, I do want to point out because GB Guns has the counterpoint here. In some cases where you are proved innocent, they will do what they're told to do or are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to work as possible. However, it's these high profile cases where they drop them and then, recharge the customers or bill them for their hours or whatnot, that it turns very, very expensive. And of course, it looks horrible. It looks horrible when you drop somebody who is believed to have used self-defense properly and just legally couldn't prove it or got shafted by the legal system, like Gary mentioned earlier, if you take a plea deal then they can't cover you, right? So GB Gun says, yeah, the trick is you have to be in the legal right to use an insurance type program. Not everyone knows all the laws, and in bad situations some people forget what they might have known. Yes, but I think there's another service that we'll talk about in just a minute. Yeah, RTT says that he got the same RTB offer and turned it down. Absolutely. All right, all right. But going into some of the people that have talked about them, this was the first time I had heard about it. Was the Heavy Duty Country? He did a video on it because he actually used to rep USCCA, and then he came clean, said basically, "Hey, I messed up, and here's a much better service." And there was a couple people making videos basically on the pros and cons and why you might want a different type of service. One of the other big ones is going to be attorneys on retainer. Now, before we move on, I think let's go over here real fast. Before we move on to that, we should probably put USCCA in
Scam tier
a
right next to BDU. Scam tier right next to BDU. I
That's going to
agree.
be if I don't put it in scam tier. I mean, yeah, it really sucks to even if legally they can't defend you, it's just such a it's it's a really crappy thing. So I think this is going to kind of kill self-defense insurance type companies. The next sort of product that you should be looking at is going to be something like attorneys on retainer, because you're not paying for insurance, you are legitimately putting your money into a pool basically to pay for legit attorneys. Now, there are several services like this. I can't rate all of them. I don't have personal experience with all of them. Of course, I don't have any sponsors with this style of company, but the benefit of working directly with a law firm is that they will defend you even if you happen to be guilty, right? Because you made your dues, so is everybody else who's putting money into this pool, of course. And so even if you're guilty, even if you cop a plea deal, something like that, they're not going to turn around and then charge you, $100,000 or more in legal fees, right? So there are services that essentially do the same thing but don't have the drawbacks of an insurance, because again, an insurance can't legally defend you if you were actually in the wrong, whether legally in the wrong, let's say, whether or not you were morally in the wrong, which is not preferable for me. If I'm going to be paying money into a service, they need to be defending me no matter what, because that's what I'm paying them to do. Now,
It's
RTT said that.
also
Go for it.
real quick. It's also worth noting that USCCA is not 50 state legal. Attorneys on
That's also
retainer is 50 state legal. In our home state of Washington, we are explicitly prohibited from having concealed carry insurance. It's ridiculous. I'm not entirely sure why, but can't have it. Attorneys on retainer is not insurance. It is a lawyer that you are paying to
Right.
represent you in the case of needing it.
Mhm. Absolutely. And like you mentioned, yeah, like in Washington, this carry insurance is straight up banned. However, of course, working with an attorney is not. So working direct, I think Washington gun law has, you said they have a different service that they offer or a different service
Uh,
that they recommend versus
I
attorney
think
on retainer.
I think he pushes right to bear, but I'm not. Let me check my email really quick because I actually asked him specifically.
Okay, interesting. Just some space cowboy says sent you a clip on Instagram that shows them giving misleading information about concealed carry calibers and their effectiveness. That's a whole stream in and of itself. Concealed carry calibers, which ones are best, terminal performance, different bullet types, all sorts of stuff. Deskpop says that Bill does push right to bear. So okay, so I thought they were actually pushing a like attorney service, not another insurance type service. Yeah, Cat Daddy Steve says AOR is good for any law enforcement encounter, traffic stops, etc. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I thought it was specifically more towards self-defense. But again, they are actual attorneys, so if you pay them enough money, they will do whatever you want them to. Independent
Well,
Arms says it is
if
basically a
you're
scam.
if you're a member of AOR and you're involved in a self defense scenario, you're covered. If you're a member of AOR and you're involved in another criminal proceeding, you get like a pretty sizable discount. That's how that works.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Oh, that does suck. Yeah, Deskpop says correct. Not legal in Washington, but he does get a spicy kickback. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about people taking sponsorships that they get paid a lot of money for and don't necessarily benefit the end user, right? So USCCA in some circumstances can, but in others is going to completely screw you, right? If you're in a high stress situation, you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, even if you were morally in the right, legally you can get yourself into a lot of trouble, and then they're not going to cover you. Whereas again, any sort of actual attorney law firm service, they're attorneys. That's what they do. So now this company, Attorneys on Retainer, let's go ahead and put that on screen because I keep doing that. Let's go put this on screen. Attorneys on Retainer, a better service, not really scummy. I would put it again in acceptable.